What's going on,
What's up,
Bryce?
man?
Chilling.
Not much. Yep, enjoying the new place.
Yeah, I see. I love your setup back there, actually. Look, let's get right into it. We got to congratulate the Los Angeles Lakers for winning their 17th NBA championship, which ties them with the Boston Celtics for the most in NBA history. So, how do you feel about the Lakers pulling off number 17 over the Miami Heat?
For me, it just looking at the landscape of the playoffs and the bubble, I just felt like it was their year. It was pretty
Mhm.
much my pick from the beginning. I thought the Clippers, if they faced them, would give them some trouble, but that never happened. So, of course, congratulations to the Lakers. And I just think it was deserved. They played well, especially in the Western Conference. The Heat gave them some trouble, but they looked pretty dominant most of the games that they played. So they deserved it. Happy for
Yeah,
them.
they played well and they made the proper adjustments. I'm not going to say it was as dominant of a series as people thought it would be, as dominant as a performance. Miami was wounded, but it was still a good win for the Los Angeles Lakers. So this week, the topic in social media and on the TV rounds has been, what does this championship do for the legacy of LeBron James? Does it enhance it? Does it keep it flat? Like, which side are you on? And the debate that's been raging for years, as he inches closer to Michael, does this help or does he stay stagnant?
um, Lately, I've been thinking about that argument, and the more I think about it, and the longer we get into LeBron James's career, the more I just see it as its own thing. I think what goes into Jordan's mystique and his legacy is the fact that like how he dominated some of those playoffs and those finals. Never never losing in the playoff, like never losing in the finals. That's impressive. To be perfect in the playoffs, that's impressive. I just think it's a different story altogether now. I'm not trying to compare it anymore. LeBron James could win 3 more championships, and I still would just compare the two legacies differently. I don't
Mhm.
think that we have to say he's better than Jordan, or that it's what he did is better than Jordan. Like I just think we need to respect them separately for what they are, because we're getting to experience the next Michael Jordan right now. And I just think let's wait and compare the careers until LeBron James is done. Let's just wait and appreciate what we get to see, because I'm tired of the arguments between the two, because it just doesn't matter to me anymore. Michael Jordan was one thing, and was this, like I said, to me he's like this living legend character, like bigger than the sport. Right now LeBron is still playing, and he's still like this massive human being that has this massive following. I just don't think we should be having a conversation again right now. And I'm tired of hearing other people talk about it. The other day I saw like Skip Bayless tweet MJ over Jordan. That was the day after the finals, and I unfollowed him because it annoyed me that bad. I was like, like this is what you want to talk about right now after a
Yeah,
guy
that's
just won a championship.
that's what
I didn't
everybody's
want
been
to hear
talking
it.
about.
I
Yeah.
didn't want to hear it. And I don't claim to be like a LeBron fanboy. Like I'm just not. But I just think we should appreciate it for what it is and just leave it alone. Like I don't want to do the comparisons anymore. Basically, like I just think it's
Yeah.
ridiculous at this point.
I wanna challenge our listeners, like the 10 people that follow us on
We got
YouTube.
10.
I think we
We
got
got 10
10.
now.
We may have 12. But I want them to actually put some comments below and debate which way they go. Do they like LeBron? Do they like Michael Jordan? I want to hear some reasons to it. Um, Statistically speaking, LeBron James is the greatest basketball player to ever step foot on this planet. Statistically speaking, okay. The eye test will still tell us that Michael Jordan is that player. So I think that's where the divide is. The eye test, which some older people use, is Michael Jordan. Stat wise, is leaps and bounds ahead LeBron James. And it's a few reasons for that. I will say that LeBron does have an advantage because he started sooner than Michael. He's going to end up playing longer than Michael. Michael did have two retirements, so there's a little things that skew the number in favor of LeBron James, but statistically speaking, on paper, he's the greatest basketball player to ever step foot on this planet. And for some people, that's the end of the discussion. But I think it's still good to talk about. But yeah, for like I said, the 10 people that follow us, drop a comment down there. Let's see what you think. Hell, we might give you a shout out the next time we get on.
And
Uh, Go
real
ahead.
quick before we move on, that's one thing that like I think plays into it. What you were saying about MJ, like he retired twice. Let's even go as far as to mention like how the league was played at that time. Like think about what Jordan could have done if he would have just stayed, right? And LeBron, on the other hand, has been able to stay healthy as well. A lot of guys just can't stay healthy.
Right,
So
right.
we're being gifted this amazing career, and to see articles and other people talk about like, well, we were shorted a spectacular different career because LeBron didn't do it the same way Jordan did, kind of like just comparing him. And I was like, that's what annoyed me. I was, why are we doing these comparisons? Like, if we wanted to, we could bring up all these things that could have elevated Jordan hypothetically. Like, technically, if he hadn't retired, we could
Mm.
have had more Jordan. So I'm just tired of like, you can do that with Jordan too. You can do the what ifs because of how he went about his career. So that's why it just seems like a lot of pointing fingers at the other one and hyping your guy up with those arguments when we should just be like, okay, let's compare them and we can argue those points. But I don't think we have to argue because of the circumstances of each career, like
Hmm.
who is the better one, because we're also in different leagues now. So yeah,
It was
my
a
last
great
little rant on that.
it was a great article, by the way, by Rob Parker. I had to look up real quick and see who the author was because I forgot. And Rob's an old head, very opinionated. Um, I've read his stuff for years. It was a great article. He laid out a great argument, but it doesn't change the fact that statistically speaking, LeBron James is the greatest player that we've ever seen. And I am a self-proclaimed LeBron James hater, so, but I can say that because I've watched his entire career, and we borrowed him for 4 years in Miami. So yeah. All right. With that said, the Houston Rockets are imploding from the inside. GM Daryl Morey has resigned. Do you think this has anything to do with one, the team's performance the last few years, and two, let's not forget about the situation that happened with China last year, where he cost the NBA and the Houston Rockets millions of dollars. What's going on there, my man?
This was like probably his last like chance. You know, he was already probably not on great circumstances with the ownership and the
Right,
team, of course.
right.
But for the sake of just the team he already built, they're like, okay, let's just see, let's let this team run its course. And this was like as good as that team was getting, and they got
Hmm.
blasted.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah.
And so that was probably going to be that guy's saving grace. Or even if they won, they might have gotten rid of him. Who knows? But I just think when the team underperformed like they did,
Hmm.
it was, well, something has to change. And it looks like they decided everything had to change.
Yeah, because Dan Antoni was out the night they
Mm-hmm.
got eliminated. He was out, and now Daryl Morey is out. There's two things you can't do in the NBA with a franchise. You can't have high payroll, and I'm not gonna say a losing record, even though that's not the case with Houston. But you can't have a high payroll and then lackluster results. You can't do that. And the Houston were definitely one of those teams that should have gave the eventual champions a run for their money. So I mean, think about it. The Houston Rockets got eliminated in 5 games. Injured Miami Heat team took the Lakers to 6 games. So the Houston underachieved.
Yeah.
Um, so now the
And with
question
two
is,
superstars on that team.
right, with two mega superstars. So now the question is, okay, um, excuse me, I lost my train of thought. Maury's gone. Dan Antoni's gone, who I've never been a fan of. So now one of the two has to go. Russell Westbrook or James Harden. If you're going to rebuild, you have to break it up now. So who do you think goes? Who do you think stays?
I think probably Harden stays.
Hmm.
I just see that more as his team. He's just been there longer. That's just the only thing. Um, and depending on how Russell got along with everybody else, the rest of the ownership might like him, might not. But in my eyes, I just feel like they probably stick with Harden there and try to move pieces around him. I just
Hmm.
feel like they might think that's easier than dealing with Russell, even though Harden has his own issues with other players as well, of course. But
Right.
to me, it just feels like Harden's team. Unless they move everybody, they use Harden and Westbrook to change the team completely, which
Wow.
would be surprising. But
Wow.
I
Yeah.
think they probably just stick with Harden.
It would be surprising if they got rid of both those guys. The rumor
Yeah.
mill has been churning, that more so Westbrook's name's been out there as far as trade bait. So like the Knicks are looking at Westbrook. I've actually heard the Los Angeles Clippers are looking at Westbrook. So Westbrook seems to be the one that's going to leave, but Houston's doing their due diligence and they're interviewing a lot of head coaching prospects. But right now, it's Jeff Van Gundy's job to lose. If Jeff Van Gundy takes over the job, I do believe Harden will be gone because Russell Westbrook is more of a Van Gundy player than Harden is. So I think it's going to come down to who's going to run the team, who's going to coach the team. Because if Van Gundy goes there, he's going to run the team and coach the team. So at that point, Harden's a goner. Because Westbrook and Van Gundy would be beautiful together. So from a defensive standpoint, because we know James Harden can't spell defense. So the other rumors are out that the Los Angeles Lakers may try to lure Chris Paul. Let's be honest. They won a championship, but I've been consistent with saying this 1 to 15, they're just not that strong. So they're going to get better, but right now they're not that strong as they could be. So rumors are they're thinking about bringing in Chris Paul as a free agent and then also moving Kyle Kuzma for assets. So what do you think about those two moves?
Is David Stern going to come out of retirement to block the Chris Paul trade again?
Well, God rest his soul, he would have to come back from the grave, but yeah.
God, he died.
How did you forget David Stern died? How did you
I
forget
don't
Emperor Palpatine died? Come on, twice.
know. That would be, I think, a huge get for the Lakers to pull off,
Yeah,
especially after the season Chris Paul had.
right,
Like,
right.
seeing what he could do by himself, he's kind of like one of the perfect additions for that team because he can add shooting. He's a reliable 3-point shooter.
Hmm.
Um, and he's what LeBron's always talking about, having another playmaker on the court. Well, you have probably one of the smartest playmakers in the entire NBA running your offense. Um, Rondo fills in the gap minutes anyways if they still wanted to keep him, and apparently he's pretty important to have in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, yeah. Rondo's the reason they won the championship in that game. That game six, he sealed that.
So it's you got to come down to, of course, you'd love to have Chris Paul, but is it worth moving Kuzma and also like shifting the team around after winning a championship?
Well,
I think
here's
so because I think Chris
yeah,
Paul can fit in easy
yeah.
anywhere.
Chris Paul would come as a free agent. So the Kuzma trade is interesting because I know how you feel about Kuzma, and you know how I feel about Kuzma. The kid is talented. He just has to be. He has to be the what's the word? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I was out late last night. He has to have the ball in his hands. He's not great with moving without the ball. So he has to be the centerpiece of the offense for him to actually do what a lot of people think he can do. So he's not going to be able to do that with the Lakers playing behind LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So there's a lot of teams out there who are like rubbing their hands together, hoping they can get their hands on Kyle Kuzma. So it's then what the Lakers are going to get back for him. So I don't think it's a bad move. because one, he has a championship already. Now he can go somewhere and blossom. Two, the Lakers can add to that bench. Now the bench did play well games 4, 5, and 6 in the NBA Finals, but the bench is still weak. So if you bring in Chris Paul, that takes the pressure off LeBron James from being a ball handler. That'll be devastating for other teams in this league if LeBron James now, for the first time in his career, doesn't have to be the primary ball handler. Um, so the Lakers that we see now versus the Lakers that we could possibly see next season is going to be a huge improvement. And also, the reason why the Lakers are thinking about making these moves is because the Golden State Warriors will be back next year.
Yes,
They have to upgrade.
I agree.
They have to. So that's why they're looking at still, even though they're the champs now, rightfully so, that's why they're still looking at improving their rosters because other teams around them are going to get drastically better.
And with the way the team is set up, not downplaying Kuzma, he's a younger guy who needs room to develop. That team might do better, especially if they do get Chris Paul back in or get Chris Paul. That's just another guy that has to have the ball in his hand. See if
Right.
you can pick up another 3-and-D guy because you needed some extra shooting in the playoffs for sure. You
Right.
needed it bad. I mean, I
Right.
know you get some of that if you get Chris Paul, but if you don't, you still definitely need someone who can make some shots because when it was just Danny Green, the other guys would make some shots, but you're on pins and needles.
Mhm.
You have to have something a little more solid, in my opinion. So if they
Oh
can
yeah,
get a
definitely,
really
definitely.
good
Yeah.
3-and-D guy, aside from having Danny Green, of course, like having another guy like him, I think that would be huge for them.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Paul, can he come there? Like you said, he's a free agent.
He's a
Like,
free
what
agent.
type of contract do you see him signing if he goes to the Lakers
He
compared to
would
other teams?
he would take a low deal.
Because he doesn't have a ring,
The
right?
Lakers are yeah, he doesn't have a ring. The Lakers are a big market team, but their money is still kind of smallish. So he would have to take. He's not going to get a max deal. Those days are way behind him. I don't think he'll take the vet minimum, which is like 1.5 million. I don't think he's going to take that, but he's going to have to take a smaller deal. And Anthony Davis might actually take less money to accommodate some more money for Chris Paul. But look, they've been talking about this for years. It's a possibility that we might have three of the four banana boat crew with the Los Angeles Lakers next year because Melo's still a free agent. So it's
Do you think
possible.
he goes there after
I think he should.
enjoying the situation with Portland so much
I
and
think he
them
should.
giving him so much faith?
I think he should. And I think he could come off the bench and help the Lakers on the bench and be another, not necessarily a 3-and-D guy, because we know how his defense is, even though it's gotten better, but he can be another option. Um, yeah, definitely. I think it could happen. I think it should happen. Portland's good, don't get me wrong. Portland is good. But if you have a chance to go to the champions and close your career out, I think you do that.
Um, LeBron's gonna have Dwight Howard holding a sign saying he got me a ring, he can get you
Right.
one too,
Hey,
and they're gonna try to get Melo and
yeah.
Chris
Hey,
Paul there.
why not? LeBron has a hell of a track record. Hell, they might even call D Wade. Who knows? Who knows? They might D Wade might come out of retirement. Who knows? They might actually do it. They can do it. D Wade's not going to come there. He's not going to ask for a lot of money. Melo is not going to get a lot of money right now. So if you can get Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony for vet minimum contracts, you make that call. Yeah, definitely.
I think Wade. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I would be if they could get Chris Paul
Right.
and Melo,
Yeah. Do it. Yeah.
and with the way seeing those guys played in the playoffs and stuff,
Hmm. Hmm.
they would be my pick right now
Hmm.
for the to repeat.
Oh yeah, they're definitely the pick. They're definitely the pick to repeat. And I saw something that said way too early power rankings, and the Lakers were number one. You have to have them number one, and they're in
Yeah,
champs. And then the Heat were number two. And I thought that was so surprising to me because everybody's already given up on Milwaukee. I was like, good lord. It's just
well, I mean, I think that's a good pick because the Heat they made them look like they shouldn't have been there, and it should have
Yeah.
at least been close. And the Heat aren't. They can stay pat. They can just stay back and not do anything. But that's
Yeah.
not really. They will take advantage of what's out there. So I don't think the Heat is the same team we're going to see next year. But even if they are, if you guys can keep all your guys healthy in the playoffs, there's no reason to think
Right.
you can't go back.
I think that there's one or two ways this is going to go because we can sign Bam to a max deal this offseason. So if we sign him to a max deal this offseason, that's going to give us no flexibility for the next season. So not to make this Heat centric, but the rumor is that Bam will not sign an extension this year, so him and Giannis can work together on a extension next year for Miami as both free agents because they both share the same agent. So that's what the hot rumor mill is. That's what the connection, the backdoor connection for Miami and Giannis is that him and Bam have the same agent. They're both of African descent, so that's another thing Giannis was looking at as far as that's why Toronto was in the mix because of their GMs of African descent. So um, yeah, so it's just going to be a wait and see game. So if Bam doesn't sign the extension this off season, that'll be actually step one to maybe him and Giannis coming together in Miami. So keep your eye on that.
Right.
Yeah, just keep your eye on. I'm not saying anything's going to happen. I'm just saying keep your
No,
eye.
no, I'm. It's not. I'm not saying either.
Yeah.
It's just there's probably a few teams gearing up.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we know there is. So I mean, that's
Everybody.
going to be the Heat's pitch. The Heat are always in
Yeah.
the conversation with some of these
Every,
big, free agents that come out. So that's not
yeah.
nothing surprising to me.
Everybody's gonna be pitched. Michael in the Hardwood Nation chat, Michael mentioned the Dallas trade, and I commend Dallas for trying because you got to try, right? But I don't think that's a good move for Dallas or Milwaukee.
Look, Steph Curry's been whispering in his ear for
Yeah,
seasons now.
yeah. Golden State's out there lurking. So and then Toronto's like begging, so they're desperate. So you know, he has options, and that's the best place to be at when you have options. My whole thing was as a Heat fan during this semi championship run. I'm like, okay, would it be nice for us to win a championship? Yes, but if we win a championship, that actually makes it harder for us to recruit Giannis. It does. It makes it harder because then people are going to look at him like they looked at Kevin Durant. But if we lose a championship, and then we can say, wow, you're the missing piece. So all we needed was you. So I think that actually bolsters our clout with him. Also with Toronto not making it as far as the Heat did, and then the way we just steamrolled Milwaukee. I'm happy that the Heat made it as far as they did. I didn't expect them to win a championship this year, but I'm okay with the results because I'm looking a year down the road and like this could actually help us land this kid. So yeah, you know. I
Yeah, it was all good. It was all wins for the Heat this year. Even though
Oh
you
yeah,
didn't get the championship, it's
right.
still
We won everywhere else.
way
Yep,
more than you thought it was going to be.
yep.
Yeah.
And we won everywhere else, and most importantly for me, and like I said, I don't want this to get too Heat centric, but most importantly for me, Jimmy Butler finally got the respect that he deserved. He finally got it because no one can ever doubt him again. No one can ever say he's a bad teammate again. Um, he said he felt bad that he didn't fulfill his promise to Pat Riley to bring a championship to Miami. Um, that kid left everything he had on the fucking court. I mean, you can't ask for nothing more than that. So kudos to him.
Yeah.
I'm almost tearing up talking about it. How much I love Jimmy Butler. So kudos to him. Um, so let's talk about the Orlando Magic for a minute because this is a pivotal year for you guys. Because I know Evan Fournier is going to be a free agent, but I believe Vucevic is going to be a free agent as well. What moves do you think the Orlando Magic should make going forward? They did make the playoffs this year, but they were injured, so the results wasn't what people thought it would be. So, what moves do you think the Magic will have to make this
Um, to be honest, it's a tough one.
year? Hmm.
There's some pieces there that, especially for me, I'm not sure about.
Hmm.
I love Isaac. I love his game, but we have to make sure he can be healthy. And so, natural, I wouldn't mind trading Aaron Gordon
Hmm.
to see what we can get because I think he can become more consistent and things like that. But I think we kind of see what we're going to get with him. And having a premier defender that size and stuff is huge too. That's why I said when I brought up Isaac, I'd like to see what he can do when fully healthy because he's such a big, long guy.
Hmm.
He can replace some of that defense that we lose if we were to trade Gordon. And there might be more upside there with Isaac as well, with him being younger. But I'm not real sure because we need shooting. There's a lot of things we need. I don't think trading Vucevic is the answer because he's the only steady guy that we have. Going forward, depending on how the young guys do coming up, like Isaac and like Fultz, depending on how the flow of the offense goes, we can kind of go away from Vuce a little bit. But right now he's our go-to still. So as the seasons go on, I'd still like to keep him, maybe Fournier too, because he's one of the few guys that can go ahead and create his own shot a little bit and can knock down a three, and he's comfortable with the offense too. So I don't know. It's an interesting. They're in a situation that I think is interesting because they could move and do a lot of things. I
Yeah,
gotta see who they get calls from and see what they value as their main goal going forward. Because right now it's a little all over the place. You can move guys at all kinds of positions and make changes. I just don't. It's weird for me. I'm not sure where they go right now.
it's a pivotal year for Orlando. It really is because Vucevic and Fournier didn't really have team-friendly contracts, so now you have an option where you can get out of those contracts. It's like, what do you do? I actually think Fournier is going to leave. I think he's going to leave in free agency, and I think Dallas may pick up the phone and lure him over there, or even let's see what Houston does, because I believe Houston might actually lure him there. But think about this for a minute. What if Russell Westbrook ends up in Orlando? Now think about that, and then you build around Westbrook.
Well, even though the mentioned Vooch and Fournier, those are two of the pieces that we might actually get calls about for the teams that need some help, that did make playoffs and stuff like that. Fournier can help a team too. You just never know where those two guys are going to end up. So
Mhm.
even though I like them and I like their steady flow, like what they bring to the offense, they're probably, along with Gordon, some of the pieces that we have that are actually desirable.
Mhm.
So if we go the route and we get rid of some of that and we do bring in a guy like Westbrook, my only concern there with Westbrook is is not that he can't knock down shots. It's that we would still not have a super efficient shooter at the point guard position for the third straight time starting. I love his game and I love what he can do everywhere else. But the Magic still don't have shooters, and we're losing shooters possibly with Fournier. You know, if he goes, I don't think Westbrook will add enough in terms of everything else he brings, which is a lot over what we already get out of that like kind of position. And I mean, I'd just be worried. I would love to have Westbrook on the team. I'm just not sure if it's going to work there. I don't know. And build around him, maybe,
Yeah,
but
I think you
I'm just
bring
not
in
sure yet.
I think you bring in Westbrook. You give up who you got to give up. If you got to give up Aaron Gordon, sign and trade Fournier, And even if you got to give up Vooch, give him up because you still have Mobamba and you still have Isaac coming. Isaac's gonna come back from injury. You got to clear up that log jam. Okay, so you can't continue to keep going big. You got to go small. You got bigs. So you cleared up that log jam. You bring in a player like Westbrook. You pick up the phone and call JJ Redick. You want to come back home? They're shooting right there. Let's see what Kyle Korver's going to do. He may retire or he may stay with Milwaukee. Who knows? He's going to be a free agent. Call a Kyle Korver. Hey, you're going to get so many open looks. By the force of Westbrook, you're going to get so many open looks down here. So now you got Westbrook at the point, and then you got Kyle Korver at the 3, and then you got JJ Redick at the 2, and then you got your bigs down low.
I mean, yeah, I mean, those things sound good.
I was just saying.
It'd be
I'm
nice to
just saying.
see. No, I'm agreeing. It's,
Hey,
but I would love to sit in with these magic meetings
right,
where
right,
and just know, like, what are you guys going for? Like,
right.
because right now it just seems like they could just pick any spot on the team and be like, well, let's go after this, because it seems like there's some highlights, right? You have Fultz showing some promise, younger guys too. You have Gordon, who isn't a bum, but he is what he is. We have some younger pieces that you can build around too, but we don't have the guy. We don't have our main piece. Vooch has been that for us, but we need something bigger, better. Not bigger in terms of size, but we need something else. None of this is getting us farther than what we did this year.
Yeah.
So I would just like to know what the team management, Clifford, all this. I'd like to see what direction they want to go in.
Look, we're right down the road. So if the Magic want to call me, the DeVos family can call me. I'll be the GM. You'll be the assistant GM. Hey, what are you shaking your head for? We can build a contender down there. And
We
here's
could.
why.
You would sabotage them on
No,
purpose.
no. Here's why. I would just
Rob
use y'all
Hennigan, point two.
2.0. I would use the Magic to build my resume and eventually get a job in Miami. But here's the deal though. The Magic are too nice, and this is not a shot. Great players, great team, whatever. The Magic are too nice. They play too nice. They don't have anyone on their roster and haven't had it for years that can impose their will. Aaron Gordon is a good talent. He's not imposing his will. Vooch is a good talent. He imposes his will maybe 3 times a season. I've seen him do it, but he doesn't do it consistently where he's like, give me the fucking rock. This is what I'm going to do. Fournier never imposes his will. Good talent, though. So they're great. They're great. They have great team chemistry. They really do. But it's just that one thing that's missing is that they don't have talent that will impose their will, like the Lakers. You know how the Lakers beat the Heat in Game 6 because the Lakers just came out and were like, "We're not going to let y'all win this game." LeBron James imposed his will in the first 5 minutes, and it shook the Heat to their core, just like Jimmy Butler imposed his will in Game 5 and Game 3. The Magic don't have that, and that's all the Magic needs. So if you have a player, a proven player like Westbrook, who imposes his will every second of every play, you go after that type of player, and then you get players that complement his game. And it's hard for teams to
Yeah.
do that. To say, okay, we're going to build around this one singular guy, but he probably has 2 to 3 years more of prime Westbrook. Houston doesn't even know what to do with him. OKC knew what to do with him once Durant left, but Houston didn't know what to do with him. So he needs to go to a team where it can be his team, no one else, put role players around him and let him do his thing. Hell, he might average a triple double again. The Magic isn't the only team that's like that. The Knicks are another team. And the Knicks are like, maybe we can make a trade for Westbrook. So there's a couple of teams out there that's looking at him as we can shape our whole franchise around this guy. But you're only gonna have 2 to 3 years to make it work.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth the gamble. I'm just saying it's worth a gamble. I know you can't see my backdrop, and I tried something new. Usually I have the brick wall background. Today I actually have the Los Angeles Lakers holding the NBA trophy to commemorate what they did this year. So that's just another shout out to the Lakers. You can't take it away from them. Any final thoughts on this extremely long NBA season? Because this is actually the longest season in history.
Um, hopefully we won't have to do it again. Hopefully we won't have to go through this again next year. But right now, it seems like we're still definitely going to have some specific standards involved because um, this thing isn't going away right
Mhm.
now anytime soon. But in terms of the length of it, and hopefully it'll be a normal season because the NBA will already know what they're going to do to deal with it. So I mean, hopefully this season's a one and done the way we had to do it,
Yeah, who
this
knows?
time. Everybody was on the trying to adjust on the fly this year.
Right, right, right.
So
Who knows? I mean, they did the best job with what they could do. They did a fantastic job, actually, and to all the team members of the Hardwood Nation with this abrupt relaunch that we had right when the bubble was beginning. I want to say thank you to everyone. We actually had about 10,000 views come to the website since the relaunch. So for that amount of views in the short amount of time of the NBA bubble, I'm actually proud of that for the relaunch that we had. Um,
mm,
thank you, brother, for finally launching this YouTube show with me.
yeah,
Finally,
we've been wanting to do it for a long
for
time.
years. And then another special shout out to our brothers from another mother, Cortez Paul and Kevin Carter at the Balls in Our Court podcast. Thank you guys for jumping on this year and helping us out. We're not going to be
Yeah,
going long. We're not going to be going long, but we're going to take a little mini vacation and we'll probably come back around free agency. Free agency time. Hell, I don't even know when that's going to be. I know the draft's going to be sometime in November. I think. Like I don't know. I don't know what the schedule
yeah.
is right now, but we'll be back. But again, thank you, brother, and we're going to come back
Thank you.
bigger, better, and badder at the Hardwood Nation's Flagrant 2 podcast, and we are out. See that?